Hey everyone, my name's Leslie. Welcome to my channel, Books, Gurrs and Purrs. And today we're going to discuss all the comics I read for my recent haul about 4 weeks ago. Um, some of these comics are quite far into their progression of volumes, so just keep that in mind in terms of spoilers. First one is going to be Saga. I think that's right off the bat, the one that we're going to do. All the other ones I think are like volume one. All right, so I love Saga. It's probably my favorite comic of all time. If you're not familiar and you don't mind spoilers, this uh, started out with two people that fall in love that shouldn't. It's like this intergalactic Romeo and Juliet, and they just become refugees, and they really rely on the kindness of strangers to get them through. So that's like the shortest way I could put it together. By the time we get to volume 12, there are people that have gone along on the journey that have died along the way. And so many of the characters are grieving. Um, and so I would have to say for the past 3 volumes, they've covered that. And because there's this intergalactic war going on, that's always been the current running through the comic. It's about an outlet for the author to talk about parenting. It's about how sometimes the people that are going to be there for you most are strangers. So it's not just about found family. It's about like, wow, sometimes you run into someone and they're there right when you need them. And so all those elements are really beautiful. But it's also about keeping your guard up. And so by the time we reached volume 12, I felt like this is the first time of all the volumes I'm feeling a little bit of a lull in the story. I don't know what the equivalent is in comics, but it's kind of like if I'm going to use like a television reference. It's like a bottle episode, basically. Um, and so I don't know. It just didn't hit me emotionally in a way that it usually does. Again, beautiful writing, beautiful illustrations by Fiona Staples. And so I'll continue on with this. I think, I don't know what it is. I think I just wanted something more, and I don't know what. They're just, the characters are just in a place where there's a bit of like retreading, or this feels like just, this almost feels like a penultimate episode to everything that's gone in like the previous season, if that makes any sense. So I'll just keep it there. Then I read Time Before Time, which I really enjoyed this. I would say though that when I saw the cover, I did get Looper vibes, the movie by Johnson. I can't think of his name right now. But I felt like it was almost too much leaning into Looper, as far as like how much it reminds me of Looper. So yeah, we follow this time traveler, and he actually wants to get out of that particular business, and he's trying to devise a plan with his time traveling buddy to kind of break away from this system that they're kind of thrown into. But there ends up being a stowaway, and it's a very dangerous interaction, and that just kind of puts the main character's life and plans in a bit of a tailspin. And in doing so, we find out about like this life of this other detective and what they've been through, and how time travel has also affected their lives. So I did like it. I'm not sure if I'm going to continue it. I might look into some other reviews from other people to see if I will. It's very enjoyable. So, one of the standouts, like for being such a dark comic, and sometimes that heaviness is too much for me. I really, really enjoyed Gideon Falls, Volume 1, The Black Barn. This was so good. This reminded me of the cult classic novel House of Leaves. There's elements of that. Reminds me of Stranger Things. It's written like in a noir style. And there's two narratives going on. So we're following uh, this guy that was once a mental health patient. Now he's outpatient and what he is going through. The other narrative is a priest. And they are connected through this mysterious, haunting barn. That's as much as I could say. What I also really loved about this was the illustrations themselves and the color scheme reminded me of the movie Sinners that recently came out. There's just like a certain like saturation of certain colors uh, to evoke um, more impactful emotion and like the haunting what's going on, and it was done really really well. All right, this brings me to my critique, um, and I was having a little bit of a trouble knowing how to critique this, so who knows how well I'll do this. I read Infidels. Infidels is introduced by Tananarive Due, and there's an afterforward by Jeff Lemire, and guess what? Jeff Lemire is a writer, one of the writers on Gideon Falls, and he's done so much other incredible work. So, like Sweet Tooth, for instance, I love Sweet Tooth. So I thought, okay, well, maybe this will be up my alley. When it comes to horror or any scary storytelling, all I want is like a really solid story, and I'm willing to watch something scary, even though I'm a scaredy cat. Um, This is selected for NPR's 100 favorite horrors stories of all time. So this is definitely uh, a piece of work that's praised. I just did not have a good experience with this. The horror elements do really work. I appreciate what the author and illustrators are trying to say with this work. But for me, I felt like it was at the expense of making me, the reader, think that this felt like I don't know what I could say on YouTube. It felt like trauma schmorn. That's what I felt like. There's a main character. I'm trying to think about how I could wrap this up. I don't want to give away too much. Um, I'll say this: there's a group of people that live in a building. There was a terrorist attack. Some of the building was able to withhold the impact of what occurred. There was a bombing on the building, and so they still live there. Some of them still commune together. Um, but because of that, some of the people that are in the building are racially profiled. And with that going on top of that, there's this monstrous figure that's encroaching on one of the people that's on the cover. And I did not like the display of brutality because it seems like, um, not singularly, but at least the characters that we experience as a reader, it just seemed like, I don't know. It just felt traumatic. It felt like specifically like black and brown bodies had to be hurt in order to tell the narrative. And I just found it unnecessary. I understand the point that they're trying to get across. Those are important stories to tell. I love reading nonfiction, historical fiction, watching documentaries. I'm all about really excavating into what's really going on in the world and how the patterns of the past inform what's going on right now. So I definitely don't turn the cheek to this kind of material. I just didn't like the way that it was handled. That's what I'll say. But it might work for somebody else. I mean, again, Tanana Reevdu, who's a incredible writer, um, who's a film historian, who wrote The Reformatory, Give This Praise. So it'll work for some. It just didn't work for me. Excuse me. And in contrast, as an example to Infidel, right after I read Bitterroot, which is also so good. I really enjoyed Bitterroot so much. Um, this focus on the Sangri family. And so what this family does is they hunt down these like monster spirit type things. I think that they actually have a similar function to what Infidels was trying to do. I just think that this story did it better. And so when someone has, let's say, a stain on their spirit, or when someone does like bad things, or let's say racist things, they are then infected with a spirit. And so what this family does is seeks out those people to get rid of those monsters, basically. I really like the color scheme of this. There's like a particular, I'd say, like saturation of color, and like using various tones, and let's say an action sequence. So there's an action sequence, and it will all be in purple, but it's just varying tones, and it's a really cool tactic to drive home like the action and the moment that we're being kind of landing through, basically, following its characters. I love the action. I'm about action. And I really enjoyed the family. Additionally, once again, in contrast to Infidels, we're not seeing people that have to, we don't have to see, how do I say this? Traumatic things be perpetuated to get the point across. And that's what I appreciated about this. It was tastefully done. I'll just say that. I'm trying to talk about the critique gently here. Additionally, there's a character named Berg. He's the tall guy, kind of like brawny guy. I bring this gentleman up because the way that he talks, there's like a certain vocabulary and rhythm to the way that he talks specifically that I absolutely love. You can tell that he's someone that like always has their nose stuck in a book over anything else. And that character reminded me of Agent Savoy from Chew, who's also like a big, stocky, brawny guy that talks like in a similar way. And so when I was reading from the character of Berg, I was just really happy to see that character to come to life, because I've been missing a character like this, like Agent Savoy that we got in Shoe that I really enjoyed. So yeah, that's everything for the full volumes that I read. I'd have to say I'm really surprised what stood out to me and what didn't, because anytime I get Saga, I think it's going to be like, that's going to hit every time. And this is, again, I mean, to say that one fell slightly flat for me out of like 12 is still like a great streak. But if I really had to choose what were like the standouts, it's gonna be Bitterroot and Gideon Falls. Those, if you're gonna buy comics, I would suggest you buy these two, and the other ones you can borrow from the library. And also, I really don't even think you should even pick up Infidels, but that's up to you. And if you have read Infidels, feel free to leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought about it, what I missed, what I wasn't getting. I don't mind. Additionally, if you're at a library and they don't necessarily carry what you're looking for, you could always put in a request. Can't believe I'm even saying that because I know the budgets are probably like really tight right now. But yes, you could always request through your library to see if they'll order one for your library, or they could always transfer it over from a different location if it's possible. I don't want to talk too much about the sample issues I got for Free Comic Book Day. I will say that I really enjoyed Hulk Teach. But again, this is like a sample, so we only get so far. So yeah, Hulk gets himself into some trouble. He basically is like on a probationary period and has to teach at a school. We didn't even get that far. He basically gets to the school, and then like the cutoff is kind of there. Like he's basically just getting introduced to the other staff. What I did like is that we got a cameo from She-Hulk, and I was again happy to see so many of the other characters that were in here, but She-Hulk like stood out to me. This is kind of like a sidebar thing, but Fantastic Four is going to be coming out soon. Oh my goodness, who was it? I was just in the chat of somebody else's channel. Spoiler Kings, I think it is. Hopefully I said that right. Because every time Fantastic Four is adapted, the adaptation lands flat. And I know that there's going to be a new adaptation coming out soon. And it's going to be with Pedro Pascal. And I guess they're saying that they're kind of not hearing, not necessarily bad reviews, but like okay reviews. And it's just a lot of money to put into something that I think has to be like the third iteration maybe of Fantastic Four. And I have not been interested in seeing any of them. The only reason why I might see this new iteration is just because of the cast overall. But even seeing the trailer, I'm not really interested in like spending my money going to the theater, you know. So that's that. Everything else, nothing really stuck out to me, so I won't go into it too much. But I thought I was gonna enjoy Worst Bot Ever, and I did. I'm a kid at heart. This is geared for kids, and you know what? The ballpoint pen got me. But yeah, that's all that stuck out to me for now. All right, everyone. If you've read any of these, please let me know what you thought. I'm having a great time. Comic Book Confessions will most likely be put out like on a quarterly basis because I have so much other reading to go through, and I still have my interview with the Vampire Inspired Gideon. So yeah, that's about it. Remember, life is chaos. Be kind to others, be kind to yourself, and read more books. Bye.